Welcome, everybody. It's now just gone 4:30, so I've been told to keep this punchy, so we will do that. Welcome, everyone, to this missions panel session on healthier lives through food. My name's Matt Eastland, and I'm joined today by a fabulous panel of guests. So we have Dr. Simona Fry, Managing Director of Nutrition Hub. We have Professor Yoav Livni, who's the Professor of Biotechnology and Food Engineering, Technion Israel Institute of Technology, and Joachim Bosenbrock, hope I pronounced that right, co-founder and CEO of Verdify. So the context for today's panel session is to be providing some bigger picture views on the missions of healthier lives through food. So we're looking at exploring current projects, current trends, the challenges and the opportunities in this space. It's also going to provide a really useful backdrop for everybody here for the workshop sessions tomorrow, when you'll have an opportunity to get an update and some more detail on the roadmap, the missions roadmaps, and also to feed in. So hopefully this will be a really good warm-up for you all. The format for the presentation is as before. So each panelist will give a short presentation on their chosen topic area, and then we'll have a probably quite short panel discussion, but we'll make sure we've got some time at the end for some audience Q&A, because I think this is the biggest one, so I'm hoping there'll be some good questions today. Right, before we get started to the presentations, I thought we could do some audience participation, which hopefully everyone's okay with, right? Okay, so just a show of hands, so nothing too stressful. According to the World Health Organization's 2022 European Regional Obesity Report, the percentage of adults in Europe who are overweight or obese is either higher or lower than 50%. So who thinks it is lower than 50%? Lower than 50%, okay. And who thinks it is higher than 50%? Oh, you are good people. You're definitely in the right place. Okay, so yes, it is higher than 50%. It's 59%, and actually 1 in 3 children, which is really, really shocking. Last question. So how many people would be prepared to buy a product that is less tasty if it was more healthy? So who would want to buy something which was less tasty if it was more healthy? Show of hands. Interesting. Probably about 20%? Yeah, maybe not more. Okay, that's perfect. Audience, you're done. Okay, that's you finished until the end. Okay, so now on to the presentation. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Simona Fry, who is the Managing Director of Nutrition Hub. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Got that wrong. Yoav Livni, I'd like to welcome to the stage, who's Professor of Biotechnology and Food Engineering at Technion Israel Institute of Technology. Yoav. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. So, yeah, if I can have my presentation up, please. Okay, cool. So thank you very much, Matt. I would first like to thank the organizers for inviting me to give this talk about the project I'm coordinating. It's entitled Sugar Out Protein, Application of Microencapsulated Sweet Protein as a Sugar Substitute. The project has been done in collaboration between Technion, Amai Proteins, PepsiCo, and Danone. First, let's see a short movie about the project. I'm excited to present our EIT Food Innovation Project, Sugar Out Protein, Application of Microencapsulated Sweet Proteins as Healthy Sugar Substitutes. Our high-impact ambitious project addresses 2 UN Sustainability Development Goals associated with sugar overconsumption. So, how do we do it?
The known strategies of sugar reduction fail in significantly reducing sugar without compromising taste, health, cost, and product fitness. We solve these challenges. First, using agile integrated computational protein design. Second, we produce the proteins in breweries using scalable precision fermentation, resulting in a GMO-free protein that is cheaper than sugar per sweetness unit. We made the sweetest and most stable known sweet protein, enabling to reduce a significant part of the added sugar without affecting the full sugar sensory profiles.
We formulate the designer protein with food ingredients we term micropatching agents or with other taste-modulating technologies. Consequently, we improve the product, enabling to further push the sugar reduction levels in the final consumer products. Our synergistic consortium is drawing the future, a sustainable, healthy and tasty, protein-based sweetening solution, enabling to decrease most of the added sugar without compromising taste. Okay, so the sugar paradox. We all love sugar, but sugar is actually toxic, you know. It is fueling the global diabetes and metabolic syndrome. It is a huge market. Sweetness market is huge, it's a $90 billion market, but it's still mostly dominated by sugar and fructose corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup. The replacements, the sweeteners, the high-intensity sweeteners, are still taking only a small fraction of the whole market. Sugar is like the new tobacco, if you like. It's the alternatives still do not deliver on cost, health, and functionality. Now, there are sweet proteins. They're in the depth of the jungle. There are sweet proteins in unique fruits. Some of them are up to 3,000 times more sweet than sugar. They're actually healthy. They do not induce any insulin response. They have no calories for the amount needed. And there's no effect on the microbiome, on the liver, and on the kidneys. But they are not fit for the food industry. They have high cost. They have low stability in processing, like thermal processing, low pH, and so on. And their sweetness profile is suboptimal. Now, Amide Proteins have developed a solution which is based on monelin, that is one of those natural sweet proteins, as you saw in the movie, by redesigning the structure to make it more robust, more stable in heat treatment, and more sweet, actually much sweeter. And so it is called a designer monelin, and its brand name is Sweelin. Sweelin, 1 teaspoon of Sweelin is equal in sweetness to 12 kilograms of sugar. So it's got high potency, which is important in low cost throughout the value chain. Still, the main remaining challenge of Sweelin is the longer lingering sweetness compared to sugar, which may be perceived above 30% sugar replacement. Hence, we embarked together on this EIT Food project, which is called Sugar Out Protein, application of microencapsulated sweet protein as a sugar substitute. The goals of the project were first to develop a complementary formulation that, along with the protein, will enhance the resemblance of Sweelin to the taste of sugar while extending the capability to substitute to replace sugar. We then wanted to produce the formulation at a pilot scale and to evaluate its performance using sensory panels, both in Amai and by the industrial partners. During the project, we have screened and evaluated numerous compounds and their combinations to find compounds which can modulate and change the flavor profile, the sensory profile of the sugar, of the Sweelin, sorry, and the best formulation was then scaled up to a pilot scale and introduced into beverages and tasted by consumers. So let's look at some results. In this graph, you can see the sweetness intensity versus time after intake of the beverage. And the light blue is sugar. You see sugar sweetness drops very quite quickly. The gray line, that is Sweelin. So you see it lingers longer. It's very sweet, but it goes down slightly slower. And with the two formulations we've developed, you see the time intensity draws closer and closer to that of sucrose. The sweetness lingering time is significantly shorter, significantly shorter with those two formulations compared to the protein alone. Then when we put it in a real beverage like lemon lime carbonated beverage, you can see the green line is the Swilian alone, and the blue line is with the added formulation. And you see that the lingering is shorter, and other attributes are mostly improved by this combination. So then we scaled up the production, and with the help of our partners, this was done in Danone. And by the way, PepsiCo is still evaluating, so I don't have results from PepsiCo to present today, but I'll share with you results from Danone. So they scaled up the production in beverage and evaluated. So first of all, the sensorial impact when completely replacing sugar, 100% sugar replacement in a drink, the Swilling plus the formulation, tech tube formulation, had less sweet lingering than Swilling alone. Then they also checked heat stability and found it was okay. Both Swilling and Swilling with the tech tube formulation had good heat stability through the process, the regular process of the beverage, and also shelf stability in an accelerated shelf life test. They both performed well. Then they scaled up production and evaluated it by 112 consumers. And according to this study, both Swilling and Swilling plus Tech 2 formulation were found to be able to replace stevia, for example, and a 50% sugar replacement level. And last year, our project has won the EIT Food Impact Award in the meeting in Malaga, in Spain. So we're very happy about that. That was in the dietary change category. So that's it. I'd just like to acknowledge all the team members. First of all, mostly Dr. Ilan Samish, in Bar Zucker, Igal Gesundheit, Shmulik Marco, and Chagai Shmueli. From Danone team, mostly Veronique Arnaud, Diego Coraglia, Karine Delafay, Veronique Estival Besset. And from the PepsiCo team, mainly Imran Afzal, who is here, and Alice Liu, Dow Ogren, Heiling Lee, and Alejandro Marabi. And my team, mainly Dr. Ravit Edelman, my lab manager, and Dr. Osama Al-Sibi, the postdoc, who's been doing a great job on this project. And lastly, I would like to thank the EIT Food for the funding, and thank you all for your kind attention. And if you have any questions, please.
Thank you, Yoav. And congratulations on the success. Amazing, amazing. Okay, now up to the stage, we have Dr. Simona Fry from Nutrition Hub. Simona.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you for the invitation to be here. I also need the audience a little bit because I had to get up at 4:30. Who had to get up at 4:30 today? Okay, I'm not alone. So if I forget my words, please help me out if that happens. So I also need my slides. So what I'm going to present is results from our community. Nutrition Hub is Germany's largest community of nutrition experts. We publish trend reports. We also work with EIT Food, published together a white paper on alternative proteins and how we see this decade. So healthy, sustainable, and personalized, how 3 megatrends shape the future of food. Before, or to understand this, let's have a look at a couple of startups. Of course, EIT Food has a lot of amazing startups, like we will see after my presentation. I want to show this one. It's a food startup, and it uses chickpeas as a snacking options, which is amazing because it's healthy, it's high in protein, it's high in fiber, and it's also very good for our soils. And this morning we heard from Lucas in the plenary session that the European Union wants to create healthier soils in Europe. So this is a startup that helps to do so. We also see other measures like this one. Nutri-Score makes its debut in the school canteen to educate children and adolescents and better inform their parents. So this is actually in France, where they put the Nutri-Score in these canteens, and it helps to make better and healthier options when we choose food or a meal for lunch. And then I find this lady very fascinating. Does anyone know her? She's very well known. Deliciously Ella. She has built a 25 million food company during the last years. Deliciously Ella, her name is Ella. And she was actually one of the pioneers of plant-based eating. When she started 8 or 9 years ago, everyone was like looking at her, are you crazy? Eating vegan or plant-based? This is not going to be a big thing. But I think we all know that this is going to be a big thing, or it is. Then we see other startups like BioMilk. BioMilk was founded by 3 women, and they use mammary epithelial cells to produce breast milk. And they have a very famous investor like Bill Gates, for example. And we also see startups like Hum. They use a lot of knowledge from science. They use nutritionists like this registered dietitian to give personalized recommendations when it comes to supplements and a healthy and sustainable diet. And another example from Berlin, when I walk into the largest department store there, I just enter, I see actually several of these boxes of smart watches. So it's not only about tracking how many steps we do per day, now it's about health parameters as well. And why do I show this? This is in a department store, a general department store, so this has become a market for the masses. And now I'm jumping into the metaverse. Quickly, last year, has anyone been in the metaverse? Not yet. Okay, so everyone talks about the metaverse, but almost not so many people have been there. So McKinsey estimates that in 8 years actually, this will be a 500 trillion US market. Now it's 0.3. And to give you one example, what is the metaverse? It's not looking at your computer and being outside of the internet. The metaverse is using virtual reality and wearables to be in the internet. So one example what that would mean for food and health is this one. It was done, a cooperation between Chipotle and Robo, the gaming platform. And the players could go into this Chipotle restaurant, and then they could create a burrito for another person who was entering that store. Then they could earn points here, and then with these points, they could order a burrito for their home, and someone would ring, in reality, the door and bring something to eat to these gamers. Now, if we look at all of this, what's happening, in our opinion, a lot of startups are driving what's happening in this amazing decade of transformation. And you can see here a graph which was published by 5 Season Ventures and Deal Room. It shows the growth between 2015 and 2020 of the top 10 most successful food tech startups, the top 10 supermarkets, and the top 10 food manufacturers in Europe. And I think it's quite impressive to see what's going on here. There are many numbers when it comes to the evidence of food and health. In our opinion, there are 3 numbers we have to keep in mind. One is, you almost actually talked about that number when you did your introduction. 4 billion is the number of people, researchers from the Potsdam Institute of Climate Research estimate to be overweight or obese in 2050. So now, how many people are estimated to live on this planet in 2050? 9.8. So the audience, now you can do the maths. Second number, 73% 73% is the percentage of greenhouse gas emissions I can save by changing from a Western diet, which is high in processed food, high in carbohydrates, high in fats, high in sugar, to a plant-based diet. Quite impressive. So every one of us has a high impact. And the third number is 10 years. 10 years is the calculated number of years everyone can live longer in health if we follow a plant-based diet compared to a Western diet, high in fat, high in sugar, high in processed food. So there are many numbers, but I think these three are very impactful. Now, everything we see this decade is driven by megatrends. Megatrends happen all over the world. They are with us for the next 30 to 50 years. They happen in every region, in some regions earlier, in some countries later, depending how open they are to innovation. And the Swiss think tank Zukunftsinstitut has identified 12 megatrends. For food and nutrition, we see 3 as the most important. And whatever you see, you can use these 3, or we use actually these 3 megatrends to sort how we approach certain questions or structure trends. It's personalization, so everything that makes food and nutrition more personal. It's about health, living a healthy, happy life. And of course, it's about sustainability. Now, what I would like to show, how many minutes are left, Matt?
4 more
Okay,
minutes. Yeah.
good. What I would like to show now are the results of our Nutrition Trends report from this year with the 10 most important nutrition trends. So what we did as a community, we're reaching over 30,000 food and nutrition professionals. We asked 100 leading professionals, nutrition experts, food experts in Germany, and asked them what they observe. It's a qualitative survey because changes, if they are new, if it's a trend, you cannot measure them yet. It's based on observations. Our experts come from various backgrounds, so they work in academia, they work in industry, they work as influencers, they work in their own practice. And we were quite successful, so you can see here just one report in The Economist, but reached over 200? Oh God, I forgot the number. That's why I got up early. I tell you later how many we reached, many million people. Okay, so now let's have a look at the top 10 trends. With the remaining minutes, I'll not look at all of them, but just at the first one, climate-friendly and sustainable eating. I think that's clear. It's about the trend that people want to choose foods that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but also are healthy for them and for their body. No, that's wrong. Sorry. I have to click here.
Should be fine. There you
Yeah, now it's okay. Second one is vegan and plant-based nutrition. And here, I think I don't need to explain too much, but I think a very important differentiation we have to do here is plant-based is not vegan. We see here, and I'm sure almost everyone knows that plate, that's the Eat Lancet plate that shows that half of our plate should be vegetables and fruits. Then we should eat whole grains, starchy vegetables, dairy foods, animal source protein, plant source protein. I think that's a very important part. Legumes, chickpeas, peas, and so on. Plant oils and added sugar. So this is plant-based. vegan means no animal source at all. And what we see is that the amount of people who eat vegan is staying constant, whereas the amount of people who change to a plant-based diet is increasing, which is a good thing. Number 3 is digitalization in nutrition therapy. That's all about curing diet-caused diseases, and as the name says, there's more and more digital tools are used. Number 4 is awareness for healthy nutrition. People know that what they eat makes them either sick or healthy. So our experts observe that there is a high food literacy compared to 5 or 10 years ago. People know a lot. Number 5, personalized nutrition and biohacking. So here I just quickly want to point out personalized nutrition means everything we eat is optimized to our individual body, to my body needs, to your body needs, to your body needs. And this can be done. It's a very complex topic. There are 2 organizations who have mapped quite well the business opportunities here. One is TNO in the Netherlands. Nard, I see you. Yeah, Nard Klabbers worked on this one. So if you Google and want to know how where to apply personalized nutrition, TNO, Personalized Nutrition Circle is a very good one. But today I want to show, sorry for it's German, but I'll guide you through. I want to show another one, which has been developed by a university in the south of Germany. How many minutes?
Pretty much now.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what you see here, because personalized nutrition is so complicated, I love this graph. You see all these circles. This arrow shows you the deeper you go here, the more personalized an approach is. So let's start outside. This is personal data, like how active, like your physical activity. Second is BMI, weight, height. Next one is clinical parameters like cholesterol or blood pressure. Next one is metabolome, then epigenetics, genetics, and just in here it's microbiome. And basically we could also say the deeper you go, the less evidence we have here at the moment. One startup I quickly want to show in personalized nutrition, or one trend, is that more and more continuous glucose sensors are used, many startups. So some years ago, everything was about genetics. Now everything is about putting a continuous glucose measure at your arm and then receive insights from this. And then we have, on number 6, convenience food and food to go. Number 7, gut health and probiotics. Number 8, food myths and false information. Workplace health promotion and nutrition education in kindergarten and schools. You can just Google this and find a short version of that report on our website. Final slide, Matt. So, summing all of this up, it's very complex. We are here tackling the challenges together, as this poster says. We are asking ourselves about the impact of what we eat on our health. So, who are we? How are we leaving today or tomorrow after this conference? These are the characters of the tech adoption cycle. How many people know these characters? Many or not so many? So, basically, over a society, they are like there's a new innovation, and then you're one of these types, how you like to adopt a new technology. And why I'm showing this to me and to our community, it was very helpful to know who are we. And a tech enthusiast, just to give you one example, is a person who sleeps overnight in front of the Apple store to get the new iPhone or the new whatever the next morning. This is more the type of Elon Musk. And now I'll ask, yeah, and then you have pragmatists, conservatives, and those who would never use a mobile phone. Do we have any tech enthusiasts here? Looks like 3% actually. Perfect. So yeah, it's very helpful to know who you are as a person with your organization and then driving change. Thank you.
Thank you, Simona. And only a few minutes over.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Simona. So next up to stage, we have Jochem Bozenbrock, who's the co-founder and CEO of Verdify. There you go, Jochem.
Thank you, Matt. So we've just heard it, 3 megatrends: personalization, health, and sustainability. But to start with a question as well, how many of you actually, in generally, looking at your food intake, can say they eat healthy and sustainable? Don't be shy. It's hard, right? I just see a couple of fingers. And this is exactly why we have started Verdify, because people struggle with making the right food choices. And of course, that's why we also have created our mission statement of enabling people to make better food choices. So better in terms of health and better in terms of sustainability. But then, what actually is healthy, we heard it, it's different from one person to another. So personalized nutrition is an outcome, but it can also be quite difficult because it depends on who you are. If you have a medical condition like diabetes type 2 or even cancer, then what should you be eating? And if you're generally healthy and would like to stay that way, eat sustainable, then that's a different story, but still it's tough to make a choice. And you need almost a degree in dietetics to sort out what is the right food to eat. So this is why we have created technology to enable people to get a personalized meal inspiration that helps them on a daily basis to make better food choices. We have 2 application areas. So I was talking about the medical side and about the mass consumers, just generally healthy and more sustainable. Let me start with the health side of it. So what we see here is a person suffering from a medical condition. Today, this person already can go to our website, establish a personal nutrition profile, fill out dietary needs and dietary preferences, but also how many meals per day a person eats, etc. A lot of information all bundled in the same place. Then, that profile can be used on our recipe platform called Swap Meals to find meals that exactly fit that profile. And that works not by filtering in a big recipe database, because then you're left with almost no recipes, but actually by changing the meal composition, swapping out those ingredients that don't match and replacing it with good alternatives. And then to make it easier even, we have coupled also that platform to the shopping basket of big retailers. So in the Netherlands already this is matched to Albert Heijn. Make it easy, make your delivery, get it at home, and cook your meals. But then, to make it even more complex, we've heard there are many degrees in personalized nutrition that can be used. And now also for those people with a medical condition, we make it possible together with our partners, also here today, like MyMicroZoo and OmniU, to measure your nutrigenetic profile and look at your microbiome profile. And then use that information to get the right recipe inspiration. So that's all possible and being rolled out. We're now developing it, for example, for even women with breast cancer. So this is the very hard part of it, those people with the most extreme nutritional challenges, using the whole toolbox of personalized nutrition. But then there's also the mass consumer. So how do you reach the mass consumer? How do you influence their choices? Well, it turns out that a lot of people go online to find meal inspiration from recipe websites. The big food retailers all have these huge platforms with thousands of recipes. So even in the Netherlands, small country, already more than 1 million people go to the most famous recipe website and decide for almost 4 million people in the Netherlands about what to eat. The biggest in the US is allrecipes.com with 100 million monthly visitors. So it's a good tool to reach consumers. What we're doing now is plugging in our technology into these famous or much used recipe websites, and there try to nudge people to make better food choices in a simple way. So one is to inspire people on using what we call future fit food brands or food products that are better from a nutritional perspective, but also from a sustainability perspective. We can automatically place any food brand in matching recipe content on all of our partners' networks. So with one click on a button, we can reach millions of consumers and inspire them on which brands to use, choosing the best players in the category. And second, what we're doing now, we of course hear that plant-based is generally better, or a planetary health diet. But how do you enable people to learn how to use all these plant-based products, or insect-based or algae-based products? That's actually possible now by installing these swap buttons on these recipes. And with one click on a button, you can say, swap this recipe to plant-based. And all the animal-based products fly out of the recipe and are replaced with plant-based ingredients. And the cooking instructions are rewritten as well to change. Of course, if the composition changes, you also have different type of handling, temperature and time, for example. That all changes as well. So it's very easy for people to learn how to use these products. I have much more to tell about it, but if you have questions, feel free to reach out and we can discuss more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jochem. Thank you very much. Okay, folks, we'll now move on to a fairly short panel discussion. So I'd like to kick off by talking a little bit about the challenges. So we've all heard a lot about the challenges of healthier lives through food today, but I'm more interested in the challenges from your side, so the obstacles that you've had to go through. So Yoav, maybe we could start with you. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've come up against, for example, in your project? Because I can see that obviously you're now at you're a pilot stage. So what needs to happen to make that bigger?
Well, first of all, we have some more work to make it more, let's say, easily upscalable, to further improve the taste profile, and to address and overcome several technical challenges that we've come across. And later on, there is a regulatory step that is in the process to overcome, but I think it's overcomable. But basically, I think we're on the right track, and I hope that in a year or two, we'll start seeing that product with that ingredient in the market, hopefully.
Excellent, thank you very much. And Jochem, from a startup perspective, obviously you've had amazing achievements, but what have been some of the biggest obstacles you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I think we're no different than other startups. So for us, of course, it's starting with an idea, a big vision, and no technology, no funding, actually nothing, not even a small team. So we had to collect all the key resources, and that is people with the right skills. So we need the dietitians, the AI developers. We needed funding to get that first from private investors, and then from the venture capital firms, and all other resources. And now we are ready for scaling. It's reaching the right audiences, reaching the right companies to work with. So each step in a development has its own challenges there.
Lots of companies in the room today, I hope. So I'm sure people will speak to you afterwards. And Simona, what are like you speak to lots of nutritionists, obviously. So what are the nutritionists saying to you about the biggest challenges that they're having in terms of helping people live healthier lives through food?
I think from our community perspective, the main challenge is that we always look at what's not working. And this is actually how our community was born, because we wanted to look at what is actually possible and what can we do. So we are very good in saying this is not working, people eat the wrong things, industry doesn't produce the right foods, but we decided to turn this around. And this is why we asked the community for these trends, positive changes they observe. And we also published this year, only in Germany, a menu for the future where we ask specifically, think about a future which is, according to you, nutrition expert, perfect, a dream world. And I think the challenge we have is that we always think about this is not working. So of course we need to point out what's not working, but it's also very helpful, and we need at the same time also this clear picture. This is actually the world we're heading to. We want to go, and the earlier we start with creating these pictures of a world which is desirable, where we want to go, it helps us also to make decisions earlier on, maybe policy decisions to use things the right way. Just thinking about the metaverse, if I look at I'm based in Berlin, Berlin's tech startup scene, everyone is talking about the metaverse. It's like super, super early, of course. But it is also the time where the food and health industry needs to be clear that we should have a look there, and we should from early on be clear, oh, there's something coming, and we need to create a world where this is good for us, good for people and planet, and think about this and then act that this is becoming reality.
Yeah, a lot more positive. I like that. Actually, this is a good shift here, because I'd like to talk a little bit also about the solutions off the back of this. So, are there any game-changing solutions that you've seen through your research, Simona, which you think could really be scaled? I mean, maybe is this all now about the metaverse, for example, or are you thinking other areas are going to be much more important?
Well, I read more and more about the metaverse, and it's on PubMed, those who are scientists here. There are right now 70 publications on the metaverse and health and diet, so it's like really nothing, but at least there is something. I think it can be game-changing, but it is, you have to imagine it, you saw my slides, it looked like a browser from the 90s. You're like, who cares? What am I going to do with it? I think there are many opportunities just looking at, there's a project from Google right now, Starline, so they are building a video conferencing tool which is 3D. So I would like have a phone call with you. You're not there, but it would look like it looks right now.
Right.
It's quite impressive. And thinking about this, what it means, for example, to work with patients in consulting people to eat better. That's just one example. But the other one with the gamers, maybe this is the next population or part of our population where we will have amazing results when it comes to nutrition interventions. Who knows?
Fingers crossed. Thanks, Simona. And Joachim, same question to you. So, you know, any game-changing solutions other than the Vertified platform, of course, that you've seen, which you've been really impressed with?
So first, start to say that I don't really believe in a technology push. It should really come. There should be a market pool for using those technologies that actually bring value here. But looking at a technology that actually makes sense is, for example, when you're talking about food swaps, dietary changes, people need to be inspired. And how do you inspire them is making it very visual, how that change will emerge. But in the world of recipe content, for example, if you make a change to the recipe, it's very hard to change the image of the recipe, it's static. So we've also tried using AI technologies to change these recipes, but then everything becomes hotspot or just a big blur. It doesn't work. And now, very recently, we have seen a technology where you can just enter a couple of words, like I want to see a green curry with cauliflower, for example, and the image is created at once. And that's a very powerful technology because it can be used to show consumers exactly what the end result will be like. Could even be applied in the metaverse later on, although I don't know anything about it.
Thanks, Joachim. And Joab, I mean, similar question for you, but I mean, do you see like the world of sweetness, is that now the big space that you want to see scale up?
Well, definitely the issue of sweeteners is an important area, and I think the technology that AMAI is using is relatively highly scalable, which is relatively easy. But I think aside from sweeteners, I think the whole issue of alternative proteins is now really, really important. And there's a lot of progress, a lot of game-changing, as you mentioned, game-changing technologies. and a lot of progress both in cultured meat, cultured milk, and also in plant-based and fermentation-based technologies. So there's huge progress, and there's still a lot of important white spaces, areas where more fundamental research is required to enable those all of those startups to really make the impact they are promising, and so this is ongoing, but a challenge that I'm seeing in that respect is that there is another trend of low minimal processing, you know, and if you want to make real progress in many of those, let's say, meat alternatives, fish alternatives, milk alternatives, you need a lot of processing to achieve that. And so those two trends, I mean, are a little bit clashing with each other. I mean, we cannot continue feeding a rising population with the amount of meat and beef and milk and other products unless we use food processing. And so it's a challenge. How can we, find solutions which will, on one hand, provide consumers with good, tasty, affordable alternative proteins without having to kill all those animals? And on the other hand, how do we provide good answers for all those who want minimal processing, including regulatory bodies and consumers? So that's a big challenge, you know, that we need as a community to bring up smart solutions for.
Yeah, huge challenges. And you mentioned about affordability, and I think that's a really important point here. I'd like to ask Jochen maybe, so, you know, one of the areas within this mission is specifically around affordability. So what needs to be done to make sure that we make healthy foods affordable? And is this an area of innovation, do you think, to kind of really drive that through to the mass market?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We heard it a lot. How do we make healthy food actually available for people with lower income? But the answer is actually healthy food is already very affordable, but people don't know what to eat. What meals they should be cooking that are very nutritious and also can be bought at very low prices. It is possible already. And people need to get the right inspiration. And also with a couple of partners now, we're developing a concept where we can actually show on a meal type the cost level that it will have, economy or a bit for the mid-income. So you can give a cost range for a meal, and people will understand that even a healthy and sustainable meal can be very affordable, especially now. The challenge is, of course, whether or not that will include the plant-based meat alternatives, for example, because they're generally more expensive than meat, etc. So then we could play around with using lentils or other legumes in meals. But still, that's a healthy solution that is there and can be used at massive scale.
Thanks, Jochen. And Jochen said something really interesting there about, you know, how people don't know what healthy food is. Simona, is that your experience with when you're talking to, you know, all the nutritionists, and what is it that needs to come across to consumers to make sure they know how to make these better choices?
That's the big question.
It is the big question.
That's the really big question.
One to end on.
Maybe just quickly going back to the affordability, because we also are a consultancy for food companies, and almost every company approaching us wants to change, and affordability is always at the core. So it's clear for companies to be more successful as well, sustainable, more plant-based, and it's the topic of affordability is always at the core of these discussions. Now, when it comes to the consumer, I think we very often want to include them or want them to include in this process or give their input, but I'm not sure if it's actually the job of the consumer to help changing the food system. I think we have to nudge them. For example, like you said, it's a tradition And traditional food, high in meat, high in starch, is a challenge to change that. It's supermarkets, retailers, how they are structured, how you walk through the retailer. In the science community, the discussion is all about nudging. Every situation where we are in touch, in kindergarten, in school, at work, in the canteen, when we travel, making sure that the affordable, healthy choices are there. And they are not yet. So I think every one of us who travels a lot knows how hard it is to eat healthy while traveling. And another thing is, so if you look at this top 10 list of our trends, you look at number 1 and 3, 2, and you're like, okay, well, that's not a surprise. That's boring. Yeah, maybe. And indeed, the most interesting is always what's on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And number 10 was nutrition education in kindergarten and schools. So if we continue to do this in a good way for our children, then automatically at one point it's going to change if they learn about food, where it comes from, what it does with their bodies. But this as well is not yet scaled up.
Yeah, hopefully coming. But what a lovely, lovely way to finish. Thank you, Simona, very positive. Folks, we're at that stage now where I'd really like to open up to audience questions. We've probably got time for a couple, 2 or 3, if we can. So who has a question for the panel? Have we already got to that point?
There's one in the back.
Oh, there's somebody just over here.
Hi. I wanted to ask Simone and the rest of you, just following up what you just said on the importance of educating children and the role of the canteens and that school. What do you think? I think it's everything that is being done and that we talked today here is very important, but what about the role of policy and governments on actually driving that change? Because it's so very good that in the classroom kids are taught how to eat well, where the food comes from, and all the rest of it. But actually, the food that they get in the canteen doesn't reflect that at all, and it's actually quite shocking.
So the role of policy and governments in making sure that people eat healthier food. Who would like this?
I think I have one. It's a very important role. It's very important, and they have to make decisions. But unfortunately, the market is much faster. So I think we have to support those who are on the market with good solutions, with good food. In our menu of the future, this is like a desirable future. This is exactly one thing. In schools and kindergartens, policy makers have implemented programs. This is where we want to live.
Yeah, and Joachim and Johan, anything else to add to that?
This is a difficult topic. Maybe it's because I'm Dutch, but if the government tells me what I should be doing, I'm always doubting whether it's actually the best choice. So people might actually not do that. So there, if you nudge them too much, it becomes very obvious as well. But yeah, of course, I have 2 kids as well, 2 young daughters, 4 and 6. And I put all the vegetables in the lunch boxes. But then they see their friends eating candy in the same lunch boxes. And then I get the question, can I have some candy next day? Well, of course, that's not going in the right direction. So some policy there would be very much appreciated.
Okay.
And I just quickly have to add, same thing with me. In our menu of the future, we also have, some of you might not like that, but there is, it's not allowed to advertise sweets for kids.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
I love it.
Small round of applause there. Okay, time for one last question. If there's anybody else, one person over here, please. Oh, microphone coming your way. Look at that, from one side to the other.
So, hello. So this is Elena from Fresh Insight. First of all, thank you for your inspirational presentation. Very, very excited to see that. Yeah, I think strategies on nudging are really, key, and we should explore that much more, because we were talking about, governments, but also social media. What is your view on that? TikTok, for example.
Are you to me?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Simone.
Well, our community started as a group of nutrition experts on social media, like micro-influencers. So this is how everything started. We looked at the communication on food and nutrition. And you could also see on the top 10 list, there is a trend, which we can call actually a negative one, food myths and false information coming from social media. And again, here it's a market. It's a very fast market. People use it. It's amazing. Everyone can use it. It's a positive development. And then at the same time, if we look at my last slide, who is a tech innovator, nutrition scientists have not been, and other medical doctors have not been. So I think it's very important that those people who are in nutrition communication, that they embrace new technologies and that we don't miss out the upcoming communication tools. They are there and they will not go away. So they are very important. 2 billion people use Instagram. 2 billion people. That's a lot.
A big opportunity. Okay, folks, I think we are now exactly on time. So I'd just like to say a huge round of applause to our panelists, and thank you for all your attention. And I've been asked to tell you all that we now have an awards ceremony just outside. So please go on to the awards ceremony and have fun. Thanks, everybody.
She'll expose you when she knows you of your fear.